These three problems are from the expressions and operations review assignment. And as we start the first one, I'm going to notice we have p to the third times q, and I added a 1 there just to remind you that it's q to the first power, all raised to the 2/3 power. And when we have a power to power in exponents, that means multiplication. We're going to multiply these two exponents together. So when we do that, we're going to have p squared, because 3 times 2/3 is 2, and then we're going to have q to the 2/3 power. I'm going to do the same thing for the second part, and that 5 is going to apply to everything inside the parentheses, including p, which is p to the first power, and the 2, which is a 2 to the first power. So now we're going to have 2 to the 5th, p to the 5th, and q to the 5/3. Now, any time we have bases are the same, with multiplication, we're going to add the exponents. So I'm going to look, and I have 1 that has a base of 2 and nothing else, so I'm going to just write that down. I have 2 to the 5th. And I'm going to look and see anywhere I have bases that are p. And I have p to the 2nd and p to the 5th. And the rule with multiplication when the bases are the same is we add the exponents. So that will give us p to the 7th. 2 plus 5 is 7. And now let's see what we have for q. I have q to the 2/3 and q to the 5/3, and then 2/3 plus 5/3 will give us 7/3. So we'll have q to the 7/3. So now I'm looking over at my answers. I don't see anything that matches. And the only other thing we could do to this problem is we can say 2 to the 5th, and that would be 32. So we'll have 32, p to the 7th, and then q to the 7/3. And that will give us answer C. For the second question, the first thing I did was take it and rewrite the 4th power as a rational exponent, so I raised it all to the 1/4 power. Now I'm going to distribute that 1/4 power into the 16 and write it as 16 to the 1/4 power. I'm going to raise power to a power, which is multiplication, and call this x to the 6/4, because power to a power we multiply, and y to the 10/4, just like the last problem. So now I'm going to copy down 16 to the 1/4 power. We're going to simplify that in a minute. And then when we have x to the 6/4 power, we can reduce those fractions and have x to the 3/2 and y to the 5/2. That's useful because, especially for multiple choice questions, we just eliminated 2 of our choices. So now we're down between A and B. And now between A and B, now the only thing left is to evaluate 16 to the 1/4 power, and 16 to the 1/4 power is a 2. And our final answer is 2, x to the 3/2, y to the 5/2. And that would be A, because remember, 16 to the 1/4 power is the same thing as the 4th root of 16. And that's how we're figuring out the 2. For our last problem, the first thing I'm going to do is rewrite this with rational exponents, and a square root is to the 1/2 power. So we'll have x to the 1/2 times, and this one will be x to the 2/3, because the numerator is the power, the denominator is the root. And now our bases are the same, and it's multiplication, so we're going to add the exponents. So really this problem's asking us to add 1/2 plus 2/3. And when we're going to do that, we need to have common denominators. So I'm going to have 2 times 2, and then 3 times 3 to get common denominators. So I'll have 3 sixths plus 4 sixths, which will give us 7 sixths. And this will be x to the 7 sixths. And that will be our answer.